their underwriters are hired, they're paid to keep properties that are likely to have a loss or a claim from buying a policy.
Welcome to CREPN Radio for influential commercial real estate professionals who work with investors, buyers, and sellers of commercial real estate coast to coast. Whether you're an investor, broker, lender, property manager, attorney, or accountant, we're here to learn from the experts.
Welcome to Commercial Real Estate Pro Network CREPN Radio. This is episode number 78. Weekly, we talk with commercial real estate investors and professionals who provide insight and knowledge to help investors grow their real estate portfolio. Whether you're a veteran investor or you've been thinking about investing, we're here to help, and we're glad you're here. My name is J. Darren Gross. Thanks for joining us today. Normally, we do talk with guests about various investing topics, but today we're going to take a moment and share with you some tips on what to look for when you're buying or operating a B, C, or D property, and that's with respects to insurance. The idea is simply to connect the dots, and so we'll get into that in just a minute. But first, if you're listening to us on iTunes, make sure to subscribe and leave us a 5-star review. Let us know what you like, and let us know what you'd like to hear us talk more about, and we'll take that to heart and find some people to talk with. When you do subscribe, you've got the ability to listen whenever and wherever you choose. And also want to invite you to connect. Are you on Facebook? Are you Twitter? Are you on LinkedIn? If so, go ahead and look me up. You can find me. It's J. Darren Gross. That's the letter J. Darren Gross, D-A-R-R-I-N, Gross, G-R-O-S-S. If you're on LinkedIn, go ahead and also check out our group. It's called Commercial Real Estate Pro Network Group. Go ahead and reach out there and join the group. It's a great place to network with commercial real estate professionals. And always be sure to let me know that you listen to the podcast. All right, let's get on with today's topic. So here's the basic kind of connect the dots, if you will. So if we understand that most of the investors that I deal with, and I say deal with, most of the people I run into that are investing or looking to invest, they're dealing in B, C, or D properties. And if you draw one line of commonality and all that, basically we're talking about the age of a property. And that is meaning that it's a B property by definition is one that's older than 20 years. Okay, so if we look at that and we recognize that we're starting with a property that's older than 20 years old, and we recognize that the insurance companies, their underwriters are hired, they're paid to keep properties that are likely to have a loss or a claim from buying a policy, right? And so if we understand that, understanding that the things that the underwriters look for and want to see will help you when you're out there either buying a property, or even if you own a property and you're looking to keep it maintained so that you can keep your insurance as affordable as possible. So here we go. Here are 4 things, and in the show notes there's a link for a list of 10 things, but I'm just going to go over 4. These are kind of the critical ones that every underwriter wants to know about. So let's start with the roof. If a roof on a building is original and you're buying a building that's 30 years old, even if it's been well maintained, the chances are that the sun and the weather are doing a good job at deteriorating the effectiveness of that roof. And as such, an insurance company underwriter is going to want to know, hey, when was it replaced, or when is it going to be replaced? Because clearly, water damage coming through the roof caused a lot of damage inside, and insurance companies don't like to pay for that. So that's a starting point. The second thing that's really become a much bigger issue. It's always been an issue, but I think as a society, the way we live and the things that we use continue to change. The electrical system is the second system, has become a much more critical, a much more scrutinized system. When I first started working in insurance, the question was always about circuit breakers. Was the panel, was it on fuses or was it on circuit breakers? And the concern always with the circuit breakers, the fuses, was that the fuse, if it was blowing all the time, the way you overcame that was you put a bigger fuse, more resistant to surges, and consequently you'd overload the circuit. Well, most properties, I'm trying to think of the last one I had, but if you're buying an older property and it has fuses, you need to be aware that you're going to need to be prepared to pay to upgrade the electrical box. And you can also go on with that with, there's aluminum wiring. If you find a property that was built when aluminum wiring, there was a period in time back in, I think it was late 60s, early 70s, where aluminum was actually less expensive than copper, and it was used in construction, and it creates several issues, but one is sparks that catch fire and get your building on fire. Another issue with the electrical is with those circuit breaker boxes, there are some panels out there that are notorious for catching fire, and they don't work. If you find one, and I found a client that was buying a property, and sure enough, it had this. It was a Federal Pacific Stab Lock is the brand, and it was when the circuit was overloaded, it would not turn to the off position, and consequently is a fire hazard. And it's well documented. You can Google and read up about that and learn more about it. And the last thing that I want to bring up on the electrical systems, because this is something that's kind of a newer concern that's been presented, but it's certainly one that you can make sense of it, is the amperage to the individual apartment units. The more and more companies are looking at that with like I said, a keener eye to the details. The reason is simply this, is because when a building is designed, it's designed based on what the load requirements are. And again, I'm not an engineer, I'm not an electrician, so please don't question me on these things. If you have any questions, please go talk to a professional. But what's been explained to me is this, is that if the building was originally designed and it was going to have a hot water tank that was a gas hot water tank, and it was going to have a gas furnace, and it was going to have a gas stove, the electrical load for that unit would be substantially less than if all of those appliances were electric. If during the course of time that property was converted from gas appliances to electric appliances, you could have a situation where the electrical load, the demand, is greater than what the units were designed for. And consequently, you could have, again, a potential fire hazard. So something to be aware of. Again, it's the sexy topic of insurance, but it could prevent you from getting the most cost-affordable insurance. It also could prevent you from being accepted by an underwriter and get an affordable policy. And God forbid, the worst case scenario is it ends up causing you a claim. So that would wipe out your building, you'd be out of rent, and even if you have all the best insurance to cover that, you still have a hassle on your hands. Trust me, I know these things. All right. The third system we want to talk about is the plumbing system. Leaking pipes causing damage in property, or bursting pipes rather. Leaking is not going to be something an insurance company would necessarily tend to, but a bursting pipe, definitely coverage would apply. The issue that I've run into, and it has most to do with the materials that are used. Your older construction, turn of last century, galvanized pipe was a common pipe, and the problem with it is that it rusts out. So over time, if you got some really old pipes, you could have a rusting pipe rust through, and all of a sudden you've got a leak. And if somebody's not there, and this goes on for a weekend or an extended amount of time, you can have a whole lot of damage. So that, and there was I forget what they're called, polybutylene, I believe that's the way you say it, were some plastic type pipes that were known to fail. So typically, if you've got copper or the PEX type pipes, you're probably going to be in good shape. And the last of the four systems that insurance companies care most about is the heating and cooling systems, the HVAC systems. And this is, again, it's a matter of a major system being, if it's well maintained, there's no doubt that it can run well past the I think most heating systems are designed to last somewhere between 15 and 20 years. But something that's been well maintained and maybe not heavily used might possibly last substantially longer. Couple of concerns, with that is if it hasn't been well maintained and it wears out, the CO2 issues there that could cause some life safety problems for your tenants. But also that could cause, clearly it could cause a fire. And, insurance companies, again, are looking not to buy a claim. So that's kind of the sum there. So not anything earth-shattering, but certainly four things that I wanted to point out and make certain that people were tracking with. When you're out there looking for a B, C, or a D property, some issues that underwriters are looking at, some things that you can be aware of, some things that can maybe help you in your negotiations if you're looking to buy a property and you know these things are going to need to be replaced because they are already wore out. This will help you in your negotiations and also your budgeting as you make your deal. So that is what I have to talk to you about with the B, C, and the D properties and the concerns from an underwriter's perspective. For more information on this, go ahead and click the link in the show notes, and we'll send you the list of 10 things that will keep you from getting cheap insurance. And as always, if you have a deal you'd like to talk about, or if you have any insurance questions, go ahead and reach out to me. I will do all I can to help you. That's all we've got this week. Until next time, thanks for listening to Commercial Real Estate Pro Network's CREPN Radio.
You're listening to CREPN Radio for influential commercial real estate professionals. For more information on this or any of our guests, like us on Facebook, CREPN Radio.